You enter the dim corridors of the old palace, where the torches sputter and cast tall, unsteady shadows along ancient stone walls. Here you stand, not as a guest, not as a noble, but as one of the eunuchs of the imperial court of the You are assigned to keep vigil at the gates of the harem, to guard the doors where only the sultan's word may pass. Your body is altered, your rank ambiguous, your nights unlike any other. And one of the strangest things you'll discover is how you sleep, or more precisely, how you do not sleep, and how your dreams drift and tumble through your mind when your body is supposed to rest. In this palace, you have a schedule that the outside world might consider absurd. You are part guard, part servant, part silent shadow. Your day begins perhaps before dawn. You muster at the gate, check the logs, observe the fleeting faces of visitors, of courtiers, of ambassadors. When the great doors close, when the steps grow still, the cathedral of the harem becomes a hush, and you are expected to remain alert, even when your limbs long for rest. A heavy responsibility lies on you, to prevent intrusion, to control access, but also to symbolize order, loyalty, and empire. Warriors sleep, courtiers entertain. You stand guard. But your sleep is not like that of the warriors. Outside, a typical soldier might lie on straw, count on the rhythm of breathing and the comfort of a simple bed. You, however, will spend scattered moments of rest, fragmented into rotations. You might be posted at the door, leaning against the cold marble column, your head nodding only briefly before the torchlight blinks and you awaken to the murmur of footsteps. The harem guards form rotating tribes. Some stand for hours, some sit, some patrol the corridors, and some sleep while others stand. The entire arrangement is woven so cunningly that the gates of the palace never lie undefended, yet the guards are still allowed, must be allowed, to rest in shifts. And that means your sleep becomes unusual. Imagine lying down on a raised platform in a private chamber along the wall of the harem. You are given a cushion, a thin blanket, perhaps a curtain to separate you from the corridor's flow. But you know you may be summoned at any moment. A signal might ring, a gong, a whisper, a coded knock, and you must rise. So you adopt a lighter sleep. You learn to sleep with one eye open, metaphorically. You might lie on your back with your right hand across your chest, your left ear to the floor, listening for creaks. Or you may recline on your side in a half-sitting posture so that you can spring to your feet if needed. This is not restful. This is vigilant rest. You train your body to drift off, but not so deeply that you fail if duty calls. Furthermore, your social status is unique. As a eunuch, you are removed from one set of mortal pleasures. You are not exactly a monk, not exactly a slave, not exactly a freedman either. Instead, you occupy a liminal space. The palace understands you symbolically. You do not belong to the world of hereditary titles, yet you belong deeply to the sultan's world. This limbo conveys a specific pattern of rest. Some historians suggest you sleep in communal dormitories. Others talk of one-to-one rooms. Regardless, your sleeping quarters are adjacent to your post. You might be moments away from the corridor where a whisper triggers a protocol. Your body becomes conditioned to startle awake at the slightest sound, a footstep, a creak, a changed airflow. You learn to view the night differently. When darkness falls, others may light lamps and talk in hushed voices. But for you, the night is a battlefield of half-waking. You guard the threshold between the harem's internal world and the outside court. Your walls are thick, your windows often barred, the corridor is long. The torches flicker. You may slide into a kind of micro-sleep, brief bouts of rest while leaning on your staff or reclining on your cushion. Then you are called. You rise. You resume your watch. And if the hour drags on, you adjust your position. Maybe sit upright on the edge of the raised platform. Maybe switch posture, legs crossed like a scholar, back straight like a sentinel. These changes help coax your body into rest while remaining alert. Now consider the width of the corridors and the echo of footsteps. The palace designers weren't foolish. The harem's gates were tight security, labyrinthine, meant to confuse and channel movement. The eunuchs who guard here know every step, every sound threshold. And because of that, you can train to pick up miniature shifts in sound, linen brushing, sandal taps, the hushed whisper of a eunuch passing by. You know when the footstep is official, when it is suspicious. Given that your sleep occurs in such proximity to your post, you learn to move quickly from stillness to motion. In fact, many eunuchs report that they often actually don't fall fully asleep. They drift in that liminal state between waking and dreaming. And this is where your sleep habits become weird, especially to an outside ear. In those liminal states, you might glimpse the corridor in your dream, a door opening slowly, a hush in the corridor, a whisper of the sultan's footsteps. But the difference is that when you dream, the door might not slam shut. Instead, you wake with the real sound of the gate rattling or the sentinel's staff tapping. Your brain adapts. It can interpret real impressions even when your body is at rest. If someone passes by your post, you might briefly awaken, register the identity, count the footsteps, see the torch reflections, and then drift again. Some of your colleagues call this guard sleep or dormant alertness. They say, I slept and did not sleep. I dreamed I heard, but I actually heard. Whether poetically or physiologically, it becomes a survival skill. You'll also discover that you develop odd sleep hygiene. Outside the palace, people might minimize alcohol, follow routines, use pillows and beds. Inside this world, you might be given a mattress woven with silk threads for rank. Or you might simply lie on cushions overlaid by carpets. The chamber might be at the edge of the corridor, the windows small and shuttered, the air heavy with perfumed incense. The smell lingers. You get used to falling asleep with the scent of amber and sandalwood in your nostrils, and waking to the faint hum of the palace. At midnight, a trumpet sounds. Guards shift. The emperor's night stroll through the harem they come. You are expected to disappear into the shadows, yet remain present. This anxious rest becomes your norm. The script of duty continues. Before dawn, you may be called to muster again. The chambers fill with other eunuchs leaving their rest for guard shift. You stretch, rub your eyes, walk the corridor. A porter brings tea or sherbet. The lanterns have dimmed, replaced by early morning light leaking through high windows. You may finally be permitted a deeper sleep after your shift. The chamber may darken. You withdraw your staff. Your boots are removed, your robe loosened. You recline, but still your mind is wired for guard duty. You might hear the corridor's echo even in your dreams. You might wake at the smallest crack of wood or soft footfall. And soon enough, the cycle restarts. This architecture of sleep, fragmented, hyper-aware, conditioned by duty, shapes not only your rest, but your identity. You begin to reflect, what is sleep when one's body rests but one's mind watches? What is dreaming when your mind is still half listening to orders? You might begin to weave dreams of corridors and gates, of closed doors, of distant footsteps, until those images bleed into your waking moments. And sometimes you wake at dawn feeling you never properly slept at all. Yet, curiously, beyond the simple mechanics of rest, there emerges a deeper set of habits. You and your fellow eunuchs develop a culture of sleep sharing. In the patronage world of the Sultan, alliances matter. You might develop a sleep buddy in your guard tribe. You lie in adjacent chambers, exchange whispered stories of the night, share analysis of dreams. One eunuch might say, "I dreamt the harem gate opened and a lion walked in." And another replies, "That means either your ego is starving for power or the palace sees a bold storm." Dream interpretation becomes a pastime. The palace's mystics may even bless you. An old dervish visits your quarters, brings a small lantern and a platter of figs, and says, "Your dreams guard you as much as your staff does." You laugh ironically, but respectfully. Who guards the guard when your eyes are closed? Weaving the concept further, you might carry a small dream journal, an inscription in Arabic or Ottoman Turkish, kept on your nightstand. When the moon climbs higher, you find yourself reclining by the small window of your chamber. The night has been quiet for a time, but the palace never sleeps, so neither have you. You trace the carved wooden lattice across the glass, see flickers of lantern light in the courtyard, feel the soft patter of water in the adjacent cistern. You let your mind wander, drifting into the liminal state between wakefulness and slumber. It is then you begin to dream, or rather, to experience your sleep as a guard's film strip. In this dream, you wander the corridor of the harem with bare feet on cool marble. The door ahead shimmers gold-lined. The steps lead up to an ornate pavilion lit by lanterns. You sense someone behind you, a shadow, a whisper of silk. Instinctively, you reach for your staff, but in the dream, you realize you are already holding it. The figure glides by. You recognize the smell of incense and tension. You press your ear to the door. In this dream, yet you know it is also partly real, you hear a soft knock. In your body you stir, not quite awake, but you pivot and grasp the door bolt. The door opens, you step inside, and the figure vanishes. You wake, almost, but remain in the netherworld of sleep. When you finally rise to full consciousness, the corridor is still silent. The torches flicker. No one passes. You sit up, rub your eyes. You check your staff. You glance at your dagger. You check the lock on the door you just dreamed about. It is intact. Was your dream warning, or memory, or apparition? You cannot say, but you now have that subtle tension. Your dream might have been premonitory. You stretch, step into the corridor, proceed to your post. Your mind is alert, your body recalibrating. You meet a fellow eunuch. He nods without words. You share the unspoken. "I dreamt a door opened." He replies, "I dreamed the same door. Watch the southwest passage for the next hour." Such shared dreaming becomes part of your guard culture. It is non-official, but effective. The palace cannot track those small shifts, but the guard tribe feels them. They will adjust their foundations, shift one guard a few meters, check the stonework, tighten the latch. Now consider how you sleep in the early morning hours. The call to prayer is distant. A faint murmur from the mosque echoes. You may take what you call a candlestick nap after the shift, half lying on the cushions, a single lantern burning but dimmed. You allow yourself to drift. Your body relaxes. The sleep is lighter than usual. Your breaths lengthen. Small muscle twitches occur. But just as you sink deeper, a subtle sound, sandals on the corridor, jolts you. You are awake. You sit up. You look. The corridor is empty. You slide back into your cushions. You reflect. Perhaps the guards shifted. Perhaps it was nothing. You let yourself drift again. This habit of micro-awakening leads you to become comfortable with sleep in pieces. You learn that 2 hours of broken sleep can function as well as 5 hours of unbroken rest if your mind remains alert. In fact, you sometimes feel better after a series of 30-minute naps than you would after a continuous 6-hour sleep. The latter leaves you groggy. Your physiology reshapes. You track the palace clock internally. You know when the danger hours are, around 2:30 a.m. when the corridors are emptiest, 4 a.m. when the shadows shift, 5 a.m. when dawn light leaks and the palace stir. You position your naps around these peaks. You may discover you've developed odd habits. For example, you keep a small basin of water by your side. Every time you wake, you splash the palms of your hands to send a message to your brain. You are awake, you are guard. You might stretch, lean forward, inspect your staff. You might whisper a prayer or verse from a Sufi text memorized long ago in your training. You might glance at the door latch or check the corridor's darkness. Each of these actions resets you into duty mode. Your rest becomes interspersed with alertness. But nights are not always quiet. There are times when your alertness shifts from routine to heightened. Perhaps an ambassador's carriage arrives late. Perhaps the Sultan orders a sudden inspection. The torch-bearers move. The eunuchs bustle. The noise rises. You leap from your cushions, grasp your staff, stride down the corridor. Adrenaline surges. After the order, you return to your chamber. Your heart is still racing. You drink tea. You sit by your cushions and slowly descend into rest again, but the rest is different now. You carry the echo of those footsteps into your sleep. Your dream reflects that shift. Gates fly open, lanterns swirl. You chase the intruder down marble halls. You awaken, gasping. You check the time. You return to 2-minute naps, then 5-minute, then 15. The rest remains fragmented. On other nights, the palace remains ominously still, but even then you feel the kind of vigil that soldiers talk about, eyes wide open under closed lids. You stare at the ceiling, perceiving the lantern light flickering through the lattice windows. You think of the harem beyond the gates. You think of the world outside the palace walls. You think of your own body and how it sleeps differently. You sense you are both inside and outside of your own sleep. Your body sleeps, your mind watches. A faint grin crosses your lips because you know you are the guardian of the threshold. By day, the doorkeeper. By night, the dream keeper. And what of your dreams themselves? They become patterned. You dream not of battles or travels, but of doors, thresholds, sound, light, steps. You might dream of the southern gate yawning. You might dream of water flooding the corridors. You might dream of a bird perched on the wall singing at midnight. Each of these becomes a symbol. In your circle, you learn to assign meaning. A bird means vigilance let down. Water means infiltration or internal collapse. A door ajar means negligence. Perhaps you tell the senior guard, "I dreamt a swan flew through the gates." He looks up. He says, "We must inspect the southeast passage." You nod because you understand the system. The dream is not random. It is anchored to your guard world. This close relationship between sleep, duty, and dreams brings you to a curious psychological position. You are on duty even when you sleep. You begin to feel your body is never fully your own. Even in rest, you serve the palace. You may feel jealous of ordinary men who sleep untroubled. You recall your village nights, if you have such memories, when you slept in straw huts under open skies, without staff in hand. But those nights feel distant, as if they belong to another life. Now you sleep in stone chambers, under torch glow, with the knowledge that you might be awakened at any second. You accept it. You even embrace it, because you believe your role matters. As dawn approaches, you shift into a longer rest. The lanterns go out. The pale light seeps through the high windows. You feel the cold of dawn stone. You lie on your side, pillow under your head, robe loosened. Your colleagues snore softly in adjacent rooms. Your micro-rest expands into 90 minutes maybe, but you still wake early, because inside you, the guard remains active. You rise, stretch, tie your robe, fetch water from the basin near you, and step into the corridor. Walking the corridor in the first light, you feel both fatigue and readiness. Yesterday's shifts cast shadows in your limbs, but your mind is crisp. You greet the early bridge of the palace, staff changing, porters carrying lanterns to storage, the harem doors creaking open for the first time in hours. You walk to your post, you lean on your staff, you take in the air. A faint bird chirps. You feel the world awakening, but you were awake throughout it. You carry your unique sleep habit into the daylight. Now you sit at your post, outside the great door. The morning light filters and the palace becomes a hive again. Visitors stir, courtiers file in, the Sultan's retinue moves in tight formation. You shake off the residue of dream. You check the logbook. You note the latest visitor entries. You glance at your fellow eunuchs. They look the same as ever, but you know they each carried a night of micro-rest, of half-sleep, of alertness. You recognize the shared rhythm: guard, rest, dream, wake, repeat. Their sleep is as much a part of the palace machinery as the swords or the gates. As your shift continues, you reflect on how your sleep habits changed you. You used to lie in a bed and sink into dreams of travel and freedom. Now your dreams orbit your station. You used to imagine leaves falling in your village. Now you imagine doors opening, torches flickering, tasks at midnight. Your sleep is shaped by your place. You are a sentinel not only when you stand, but even when you lie, and for that you feel pride. Approaching noon, you step away from your post for a longer off-duty rest.